Hey, what's up? Welcome to 2024. You're listening to another BlackSwanRadio.com podcast. This is your home for flight music and worldview discussions. And today I want to talk about how exercising faith frequently creates a wonderful track record and a fulfilling life. Exercising faith. This is something that I've been speaking a lot about for a while now, is the 3 degrees of understanding, which are belief, and then faith, and then you come into the knowing. And one thing that you will realize about majority of the population is they get stuck in the made belief phase. They don't go outside of the garden which is the plantation. They don't even recognize it as a plantation because they were told that it's a garden. You see what I'm saying? In order to understand that the garden has trees which were good for food and pleasant to the eyes. It had livestock, had resident labor. But in the midst of the garden, the plantation, because a garden is a small piece of land made for fruits and flowers, but plantation has trees, in the midst of the garden was the tree of knowledge. But the fruits of the tree of knowledge were forbidden. Therefore, the inhabitants, all they could do is believe. They could not know. The serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, knowing, of course, the good and the evil, the good and the bad, the procreative perspective and the provocative." Because knowledge includes both. The sun and the moon, the shade and the shine. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were ignorant. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. Their nakedness represented their lack of covering. Their innocence, their vulnerability, their status is immature, innocent. But innocence as at a certain stage in life becomes ignorance. But in the case of Adam and Eve, they were being kept, restricted from knowledge, because knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. As the serpent said, you will be like gods, knowing. Knowledge is power. Of course, when it's applied, this is the reason why I said exercising faith or executing your plans in faith creates a wonderful track record. And the reason why I say a track record is because you'll have evidence of you practicing or exercising your determination produces results and outcomes that can be observed through photographs and relics. What you have composed or constructed as a result. And so this is the reason why the Travel Writers Workshop is so important, because writing is a essential ingredient to an explorer's life. Traveling overseas takes faith. Traveling overseas is walking upon the waters, walking on waters. The clouds are a collective, an accumulated precipitation. This is where the rain is stored. So the clouds are oceans. And so to travel through these things requires a force like thrust and lift. Navigating through the unknown. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. What we aren't taught or fail to realize in the story of the Garden of Eden, God and the Lord God are two different characters. The Lord is a man walking with God because he is traveling overseas. He is from Assyria and he's in the land of Cush. And in the land of Cush, he's immigrating or immigrated. And he has partitioned land and have taken ownership of that land and gave that land purpose. And in it, he put the man who was native of that land, Cush. Before the arrival of this Assyrian, the name of Atum was known to be the deity or Neter, the principle of creation, of how man and woman were formed from the saliva or semen and molded from the mud of the earth and made into or formed into male and female. This principle is written in Genesis 1:27, where it says God created them. Male and female, he created them. It's very important to recognize that God said in Genesis 1:26 Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. The pluralness. It's because the serpent is the mother. She's the Eye of Ra, the divine female counterpart to the male deity. So that's why in Genesis 1:24 it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Because originally that's what the story was about before it was altered. And that's confirmable by faith, but not even just faith. Knowledge. We arrive in this domain from the seed of our father and the womb of our mother. And that's just a biological fact, not just known to man, but known to all the creatures we share this planet with the exception of a few. Where is your faith leading you? Is it leading you to clarity, or is it leading you to confusion? We're living in a world where we've been dealt a hand of cards. We don't get to choose where we were born, but we get to choose where we end up. We don't get to choose when we end, but we do get to choose how we live. And so, choice or determination, it is up to you to determine. Day by day, month by month, year by year, eventually you will have accumulated a track record of the places you have gone and the things you have seen and the people that you have touched and reached. And ultimately, this leads to a fulfilling life, but not only that, a sense of esteem. In my next podcast, I want to discuss about some of the things about the misconceptions of the ego and how our ego is diffused and demonized, disabled, and how to re-enable it, to empower yourself. And how the word humility, or to be humble, is misused. And, esteem in this world is something that is not respected. People like the presence of it for a moment when they're able to live either vicariously through it. But at some point, the desire of the public is to humble that which they've seen rise. But that's another podcast. That's another story for another day. Just remember, for this podcast, that your exercising your faith frequently creates a wonderful track record and a fulfilling life. So, as we are asking ourselves, where is our faith leading us? 2024 is about continuing to improve and perfecting your craft.